You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson. I forgot my name.
Had to think about it, yeah.
We're coming to you live every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media accounts. I've already stated my name, but we've got our other host with us tonight. Our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And Mustard Love! He's going for it again this week, Mustard Love, but no, we've got a special,
forever and always,
special guest with us.
Nope.
Oh, there he is.
Neil Singleton.
That beautiful
Hi,
man
Megan.
is back from Boston. Look at him.
Megan's not watching. She told us. And
I still have to say hi.
No.
I still have to say
no
hi.
hellos to someone who will not watch us.
All right.
He did it right off the top,
I
so
know,
I
he
mean,
did.
he's covered.
He did.
He's covered, so
I'll forgive her this one
And now I
time.
don't have to mention her again for the next
that's
hour and a
fair.
half.
That's fair.
Wow. That's love right there.
That is love.
That's love.
Ooh, that fits.
Hey, we've got all these cans upside down. What's that all about? What is
No,
this?
we don't.
What are these cans that we've got?
Well, we're supposed to
It's called
rouse
beer.
the yeast.
Beer! I like beer.
Never seen this before. I'm very interested.
Well, let's explain.
We'll see.
What does it say at the bottom of the can? Does somebody want to
It
describe
says,
that?
"This beer contains live yeast. Gently invert can before opening to rouse the yeast."
Hashtag Blue Stallion.
You serious, Clark?
Rouse.
We are. We are.
Rouse the yeast. All right,
Yeah.
I'm ready to pop them open. They could explode.
I
I
am.
think my yeast is frozen.
As I say,
I'm
yeah, they're
open.
definitely frozen.
Well, we'll see if it opens.
Okay, it did open,
It
and it's
did.
not exploding.
I think it's fine. I don't think they're frozen. It's
I
just
think-
ice cold.
The yeast gonna
Maybe-
come
maybe-
crawling out
yeah,
since
let's-
it's still
yeah.
alive,
Oh, that's good.
living.
Smells like yeast.
It's not frozen.
There is ice
They're
in
ice cold.
it. There's a little ice in there.
A little
but
bit,
It's good.
but it's good. That is a good Hefeweizen.
That
I
is
like
really
I like
good.
Hefeweizen.
Same light beer, but good taste.
Yeah.
Good job,
Yep.
Neil. Good job.
Blue
Picked a good one.
Stallion
fan.
Brewing Company.
I like that.
Lexington, Kentucky.
Yep.
Yep, from our home state, brewed
That's
here.
right. About time. Good.
Delicious.
Good,
That's a good
pick,
one.
Neil.
Good one.
He came down
right.
from the
Yep.
great state of Massachusetts.
American owned, American made.
That's
Next
right.
time I'll bring something from up there.
Hey, I've actually, you know what I need to get from you? I still need to send you the money to get me another harpoon glass.
Harpoon glass.
Because
Okay,
I
yeah.
cracked it by putting it into the dishwasher, and it's I haven't
not
been able to-
dishwasher
I mean, I don't want a glass. I just want you to send me a case of beer. I'll give you the money. You just send me the beer.
No. I don't think I can do that.
I
That's
don't
illegal.
think you can.
I mean, Drizzly can. Why can't you?
Drizzly, you pay for it, and also I don't know.
Paying
If,
for him.
Drizzly's here.
yeah, I was gonna say they just buy it in state lines. I don't think they ship across the country. I think the actual brewer has to do that.
Yeah, you can't. You have
Hey,
to have a license.
It
And
says
everything.
don't know.
keep cold, drink
Hey,
fresh. So
We did.
I kept it
It's
pretty
cold
cold.
and
Done.
fresh. I mean, it's good.
It's-
It's yeah.
That's very good. Thank you, Neil.
I like
Yes,
it.
sir.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Awesome.
where
hitting
did you
the
find
spot.
that? Actually,
We just
Where'd
went
you
to
buy
the liquor barn off of Fern Valley Road.
Yeah.
liquor barn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, we got a great
Got me
show
a nice
planned.
bottle of wine there too. I'm excited about that.
You got wine?
Not here.
No, wine. Not
Keith did.
here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Keith, for just shoving it in our face.
I bought that for me. That wasn't for you all.
Where'd
The
you
beer's
get
for
it?
You all. Liquor barn. We just said we went to the liquor barn.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was some like exotic wine that you got or something. What was it?
very
Do you-
exotic.
Can you say the name?
It's a red blend, wasn't it?
It's summed up. Yeah, it's a red blend. I don't recall the name. We bought it because Neil saw the label, which is like this red-haired woman, like pirate.
good.
Oh, yeah,
that,
the Buccaneer or something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
And it has this whole history about like pirates like originally crafted this wine or whatever.
Pirates
and,
who don't say anything.
And it was really cool. Like the bottle, like the label was really cool looking. So like Neil was like, I want to buy this for the label alone. I was like, I am going to buy it. So
I bought a moon wine once.
yeah,
Moon wine.
did it taste any good?
And never
no,
again.
I bought it for this event I was going to, and we never cracked it open because we had already had way too much. So I brought it home thinking, oh, well, we'll use it for the podcast. Left it above in my liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
And it's spoiled bad. Like I forgot all about it.
Was it open already? Because
No.
if it's unopened, it shouldn't.
Cool, dark place, or no.
Of course,
especially
you have it right above your stove.
stove.
So you're
Which is why I was like, not
Yeah.
a good place to keep
That'll do
wine.
wine doesn't spoil; it just becomes like vinegar. It tastes like
Well,
vinegar.
yeah, exactly. That's what I meant.
No, I know, but,
But
it just, yeah.
no, we're gonna talk about movies with our nice.
I like movies.
Hefeweizen beer. We chose poorly again, guys. we've
I
been on this
said it in
streak.
the review.
It's
I
like
said it, but every time we have like, it's not a big like huge release, and we have like a week to choose from a bunch of different ones. So yeah,
I mean, honestly, other than Ant-Man this year, I've not had a big release that I've been so disappointed
No,
by.
they've all been pretty
They've
good.
been pretty decent.
Yeah.
And the ones that we have picked on our off weeks,
the smaller
have been the
Well,
small
small
ones.
releases have been bad.
You were
yeah.
disappointed in Guardians.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
But
that's
tonight there's not going to
Fair
be.
enough.
Yeah,
That's
There's not going to be a.
disagreement.
Yeah, a
Me and
divide
Sean,
tonight.
yeah, we liked Guardians. Brandon didn't, but this week we're all on the same exact page. So
Yeah, I think,
I think,
let's
yeah,
roll
hold
right
on.
into it.
Wow.
Well,
So
that
that's
sets
very
it up
fitting,
beautiful.
yeah.
All right, here is our review of the indie. No, it won't be a classic. Indie film Paint.
with a litany of releases this year, slow weekends are a surprise to find, yet grant us an opportunity to review the smaller or lesser known films. While there were multiple options to choose from, some bigger than others, such as Ben Affleck's Air or Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, we chose something much more niche, starring Owen Wilson. Because when given multiple choices, we make the wrong choice every time. Paint, a film from newcomer Britt McAdams, who wrote and directed the movie, is a comedy about the fictional Carl Nargle, a public broadcast icon who hosts his own painting show, replete with mountain scenery, 70s aesthetics, and a white man fro, a la Bob Ross, who is the inspiration for the character of Carl. Unlike Bob Ross, however, Carl is an egotistical narcissist and womanizer, whose dream is to have his work in the Burlington Museum. When ratings plummet and the station begins to lose funding, Carl is threatened by the addition of a new painting show starring a female lead, who is a hit with viewers and slowly brings money back to the station. Paint is sadly paint by numbers. Everything Carl is accused of being, unoriginal and one note, is what the film itself sadly ends up being. Slow and a chore to get through even with a 95-minute runtime, horribly generic and devoid of anything edifying, Paint is full of crappy people with little redeeming character traits, yet tries to make us care about them without anyone learning anything of real value. Sure, Carl's journey has something to do with learning to respect women, or at least the one woman he supposedly loves, and his love interest learns pretty much nothing because Carl is sorry despite fully having done her wrong. But hey, they're gonna act like strange fish out of water, and Carl's gonna go through a depressing montage set to Gordon Lightfoot. So it's funny and emotional. Please laugh. Please? Paint is just a painful watch all around. Generic with a plot structure that is that of Adam McKay's Anchorman, without actually being funny. But full of McKay's political grandstanding that luckily came after Anchorman. Maybe Britt McAdams thought he could get a jump start on his career by merging audiences' favorite McKay film with what critics praise McKay for. Or maybe he's just a milquetoast director with a generic, uninspired film. Either way, we chose poorly again this week, and we weren't even threatened with Russell Crowe. Sad, sad Russell Crowe. Do yourself a favor and just skip Paint. If you've seen the trailer, the premise, and Owen Wilson in a white man fro, those are the beginning and end to anything entertaining. And that only lasts the first 5 minutes. The remaining 90 minutes are just there to punish us for our transgressions. I give Paint 1.5 out of 4 stars.
Wow, there it
bad
is.
movie.
That was
1.5 out of 4 stars.
It's not a good movie.
No.
No.
You
No,
know,
it's not.
it's funny because I've made fun of Russell Crowe 3 times now, but I'm pretty sure The Pope's Exorcist,
Exorcist is
it's
probably
gotta
better.
it's got to be way better than any of the movies
Okay.
we've watched.
Real
good.
quick, side note, I mean, I get it because we've brought it up before in terms of it being a, it's kind of been a COVID rule, and then I think NATO, North American Theater Alliance,
owners.
or owners, sorry.
Yeah.
And,
Not A.
yeah. Nada. But no, they with the producers and Hollywood in general got together and they kind of decided on, okay, we're going to do these 30-day release windows
Yeah.
for theatrical releases, and then it comes out to home and streaming. The Pope's Exorcist and Super Mario Brothers are already available for rent
So is
and
Dungeons
buy.
and Dragons.
D&D.
So
I mean,
is
gosh, it's just.
well, Creed's older now, but it came out right at that 30-day window digitally. So
I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like it's still weird to see. I'm not
Yeah.
used to it.
Well, I think it's
like
a way
I
to-
was for certain ones right after the pandemic because I was like, okay, well, it just gets more eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, since we're full blown going back to the theater, and I understand that not everybody does. It still just baffles me.
I think
like
that's the
30
big
days.
thing. It's like it's
That's
just
it.
it's not as huge a thing to go to the theater anymore. I mean, even like granted, AMC just it's so garbage nobody goes there because when we went to Cinemark both times to two different Cinemarks,
Fantastic.
they were much more full. But even still, even Cinemark's not as full as like when we were in high school and would go. So I really think it's just a trend now. People are happier to just stay home if they can and watch the movie. So now it's like you have the diehard people that want to see it on release day or for that theatrical experience.
Well-
and 30 days later, the people at home like don't have to wait as long to be able to just sit at
Not
home
to
and watch.
mention, you have Cinemark at least taking they're doing the right thing by getting rid of the normal traditional theater seats and putting in the recliners to make it more
it's
like
great.
an at-home
I love it.
experience. So you got to think they're losing probably 2 seats for every recliner that they have put in. So it's already, it's already clamping down on how many people they can get, how many butts can they get in the theater.
seat, yeah.
But at the same time, even though AMC has not done that, the experience is just not as good. You're not as comfortable.
I don't need I mean, I love the reclining seats, but I would just like for the sound to work, for the seats they have to actually not be busted, and for the bathrooms to not be like I'm going to get tetanus every time I go in there. So
And this just proves to you how good the movie Paint is that we have not talked
Okay,
about.
Let's get back on
that's what
the
I was
movie.
thinking. Yeah.
So we could I guess expand on our review. Let's go around the table. Sean, what did you end up giving it?
1.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neil, you have not seen the film,
But based on that review,
you're not going to watch it.
absolutely. Well, no. Keith
Neil
Keith
might
told
love
me
it.
yesterday.
So you
And I
just
just-
never know.
I told Keith I was going to watch the trailer, and now I'm glad I didn't even do that. Based on the review, it sounds like half a star, maybe.
oh wow, well, I gave it 1.5.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know what that 1.5 is.
I mean, like the moments that we were talking about that actually made me chuckle. Because I mean, there were a few that made me chuckle, but I was just like, even I felt were generic and could have been done better.
And
like the montage when he's depressed, which again reminded me of Anchorman. I said in my review, like it's the plot of Anchorman. Like he has this montage where like he gets fired and he's depressed, and like there's a scene where like he's at like the restaurant with his pipe, and Gordon Lightfoot starts playing, and I chuckled when it first started because I was like, that's funny, but it's generic because of course it's Gordon Lightfoot.
Exactly. It's
It
something
was
we've all
song
heard a
we've
million times.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it proceeds on for too long, and I'm just like, okay, well, it could have been funny, but again, it's just nothing that I hadn't seen like in Anchorman or other movies.
Yeah, anything funny or anything that brought me to even the slightest bit of laughter was just me thinking how stupid it was. Like I laughed at how stupid some of the scenes were.
Right.
And some of the jokes that they thought they landed, I was just like, oh my god, that is just stupid.
Bad.
Like it was not funny.
Yep.
But
I think I was through probably like a little. I was maybe like 15-20 minutes in, and I was chuckling, and I realized I'm chuckling trying to make this funny.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm trying too hard to enjoy this, and that's already like bad enough.
I'm gonna spoil a
not
scene
enjoyable.
because it was so awkward. You could tell they were trying to be hilarious with it. But the scene where the woman he loves or whatever, when she gets with the new hire, like, and they have the romance between those two women or whatever, and they go to her parents' house.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't forget her name. She's like, Rachel. It's like, oh, we went to high school together. And she's like, oh, cool, mom. She's like, yeah, she was a senior when I was a freshman. And then they were like, you want me to make you some pizza bites? What, like, you want plain or pepperoni? And then like she goes up to her room and she's like, you decide, and leaves the woman there with her parents, and she's standing there awkwardly, and I'm like, this isn't funny.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
this
she's
is so
she's
weird.
sleeping with a woman that's older than her damn parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was weird.
And they're
That's
treating
not
them like
funny.
they're
That's just
way-
weird.
But then they're treating them like teenagers in
Yes,
high school. Like,
yes.
we make you pizza rolls, and I'm like, I know this is like, you think this is funny? Like,
Okay.
look, but it was so weird.
In general, that also brings me back to just the oddity of the 1970s aesthetic, which I thought okay, they're going for this, and at first I was like, oh, it's set during that time.
No.
Then it gets to the point where you realize, oh no, it's modern day.
Yeah,
It's just with
But then
order
there's
an
all
Uber.
of these little flares,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, maybe it's just in these people's worlds. And then I'm like, okay, no, this is just bizarre that it's like they have all these old like style TVs, but yet we're modern day. I'm like,
Yeah.
Well, they even
pick
make
an
the joke
aesthetic.
about
I
it's like
would-
we can't show your episodes anymore because we're not allowed to show smoking on public
Yeah,
access.
yeah. I
I'm like,
could have
what?
understood that if it was taking place in the 70s, that's fine. But even if it was modern day and it was just kind of about this public broadcast studio that is just caught in that time period, all
Right.
their shows are from that. and they're
Exactly.
all getting-
Yeah.
that would have been kind of funny
Well, and
to
even
have
when they
them trying to
show-
adapt to but they show them with the freaking VHS tapes and stuff.
Yes.
They recorded their shows on those big
Well, and even,
cassettes and
even
stuff.
that
I'm
I
like,
could
this is-
somewhat be lenient about because it's like you said, it's public broadcasting. Old shows would be on like beta tapes.
Yeah.
But as far as like you go apart from like the old folks' home that they show at the beginning,
Yeah.
enjoying
Yes.
his home. We're
Yeah.
like, okay, these are older people. Clearly, they're in that universe just from when they were younger. But now you go out to the outside world where she's bringing people home to her parents, and then it's like this weird. I don't know. He wrote the film, Britt.
The director
The
wrote
director
it.
wrote it, and I was
Mick-
just like, I don't
Mick
know.
Adams, because I thought it was funny that the director of Anchorman was McKay,
McKay, yeah.
who's
Adam
fully
McKay.
political now. But I was just like, even their names are similar.
But he's clearly an imitation because I don't know where the premise could have been good. I thought from the outset what was going to happen was we're going to see this Bob Ross style character, because that's another thing that they really threw me off with is they very much promoted the movie as if this was going to be an inspiration from Bob Ross
or a
and
mockumentary,
a mockumentary
of Bob
style
Ross,
or
yeah.
some
Yeah.
kind of
But it has other than his look and like his kind of
Yeah.
persona on screen. Like,
Yes.
there's nothing. Yeah,
I honestly thought it was going to be akin to what we got with Weird Al Yankovic, like a parody of his life. I thought we were going to get some kind of funny parody of a non-true Bob Ross story with
Yeah.
Owen Wilson. And no, it's like other than just the intrinsic understanding of who that person is from the very outset, nothing else at all connects to Bob Ross or his life. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, we're going to get this story about he's making all these other people happy, but he himself was downtrodden or depressed. And this movie is going to be about him getting out of that funk, or literally those hopes were gone and destroyed
Or
within
just
5 minutes.
him trying to adapt to a modern time period. Like I thought
Yes.
that would have been funny in itself.
True.
I mean, when he says like
He's got
she's-
that old van.
she's ordering what's an Uber, and he's like, I have no idea what that is. Like I thought that was like it made me laugh, but again, I'm just like, there's nothing else in this movie that builds up a moment like that or supports a moment like that where he doesn't know or understand like what an Uber is or what the internet is or anything. I'm like, you're trying to make it funny that he's kind of an old
he's
soul.
stuck in the 70s,
That he's stuck in the 70s.
But so is
then
everybody around
Yeah,
him.
everybody. Yeah. Even the young girl that he has a somewhat of a relationship with, she's got like that old tube 12-inch TV in her
Yes.
house and stuff like that. And I was like,
And
that's
look,
just so weird. Like,
I get retro style some things, but then there's other things that it's like, okay, you can go back retro only so far, and then it has to be modernized. And like you said, they clearly just it's a crisis of I don't know, production design, because they didn't know what
Identity
direction.
crisis,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
an
It's
identity
bad.
crisis.
yeah.
But
They went to the Goodwill and bought everything for this movie.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. It's like,
just honestly, just such hope and promise. I mean, kind of the same way I felt seeing the Renfield trailer and just was let down by that movie.
This is way worse.
Oh, it is.
Renfield was like,
It had some
But this was
redeeming
way
qualities. This
worse.
was
Yeah,
way
yeah,
worse.
yeah.
This was a slog
I
to
didn't
get
hate
through.
Renfield. It just
It was boring, but this one was boring and just cringe. There were parts
it
where I'm just like,
played
why?
stupid. It was
Yeah.
a stupid movie.
So one
like
and a half star.
I still go back to the part where he's feeding her the cheese at the cheese
Yeah.
pot depot.
Fondue thing.
Cheese
yeah.
pot depot.
They call it
Yeah.
the cheese pot depot.
Yeah.
And when he gives her, she's like, I've been a vegan my whole life, but I'll eat it for you.
Yeah.
And then she starts eating the cheese and almost throws up like that. That did get me.
That got you.
That was funny.
There
She's
was-
like, oh, there's meat in it too.
There was
Yeah.
there was one scene, and it's sad because of how bad it is. I can't remember what it was that actually made me chuckle, and it didn't have anything to do with Owen Wilson, and I can't remember now. And I'm not going to watch it again to figure out what it is, because
Yeah, it
this
don't
movie's
matter.
not
Yeah.
worth a repeat. I think we're all in the same boat. Not worth
Yeah,
watch.
garbage.
Pass it.
1.5.
We definitely picked it
It should have
poorly
been.
again.
It should have been rated on the Matt Damon scale.
Yes.
This is the Matt Damon
Yeah.
water movie.
This is.
We could have.
Yeah.
They could have given so much more water to Africa.
Yep. Hell, to Americans. We all need it.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
As we sip our beer.
Yeah. No, we could have given beer to Americans.
Okay.
Maybe we need a beer scale. All right.
Headlines.
I think we need to move on to headlines. Let's roll that beautiful open. It's been a while, but I think that's the quickest we've ever gotten through a review in a while.
It has been because it
We're
was
good.
just such a bad movie. We didn't really need to go that far into it.
No. Honestly, it was between that and The Covenant. I think we were going to watch.
Well, Air came out too, and we
yeah,
kind of
we
forgot
haven't
about
watched that
that
yet.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly have heard some good things about that.
I've heard things about both, and I'm like, man, either one of them would have been a better choice.
Yeah.
And I think Air's on Prime now, so we
Yeah.
can watch it. We're probably not going to give it an official review, but we probably will watch it.
Yeah.
Because there's another one we're interested
Sisu
in.
was one we
Sisu,
wanted to
yeah.
watch, and it's
Yeah.
out now.
I
don't know.
think we're going to review that one the week of Little Mermaid. So sorry to say,
Yeah,
guys.
we're boycotting Little Mermaid.
Yeah, we're boycotting Disney as much as we can. And I think Little Mermaid, come on. We all know what it's going to be. Another live action, just complete.
So all the early reviews so far said it's very milk toast. It's just
Huh.
and which is
Imagine
how,
that.
That's how
Yeah.
all their live action.
So
movies have
I got a
been.
quick question about that. I don't want to get like too off topic, but
Sure.
this is so one of the recent headlines that I've read about the Little Mermaid is how they're changing the lyrics to "Kiss the Girl."
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what the change in the lyrics is, but what the article I read was stating that it was because Eric is forcing himself on her.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
that's their theory.
Is that not the effing point of the scene? She is going to
wants him
lose
to
her
kiss her,
voice.
yeah.
She wants him to kiss her. The whole point of her being there on the boat and the song itself, the whole point of it is to coax him into kissing the girl.
Yeah.
So
Imagine that.
So
a
how
beautiful
is that?
girl seduces
Well,
you.
How is that
to
forcing
want her.
himself
no,
on
one-
her? Like, what are they
One
changing?
of the lyrics has something that's like something about like because he can't actually ask permission because she can't speak, and there's a
Right,
lyric,
he
and
doesn't
there's-
need to ask
and there's a
permission.
lyric, I know, and there's a lyric in there something about like she won't say a word.
Doesn't
something,
matter, like, go on and
it's
kiss
like,
the
it's
girl.
like, but there's one way to ask her go on and kiss the girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, because she wants him to, but the whole idea that is if you take those literally as is, like outside of the context of her wanting him
Yeah.
to kiss her, it's like, oh, well, now you're saying she can't
The
talk,
fact
so just do it.
is
It's
we
stupid.
know
Yeah, it's silly.
that Eric was gonna rape Ariel in the boat, and what we really
With all
need
the animals and everything watching.
we
Yeah.
need exactly.
with Scuttle over there.
Yes.
I love that
Freaking
scene.
Sebastian be like, get off of her. Don't rape the girl.
Don't rape the girl.
Just kiss her. Just kiss her.
Don't rape her.
Rape her.
Kiss her.
Brandon sounds like Borat. I ain't Jamaican.
You don't get it. You don't get it. He got it.
Man, the first one was great.
And this.
Woke,
And
the
this.
woke wave ruins everything.
Oh yeah, it is.
everything.
It's a woke mind virus.
God.
No, they need a whole subplot in the film of Ariel learning sign language so she can sign to Eric.
It's okay to kiss
It's
me.
okay, please kiss me.
If you
Yes.
don't kiss me, I can never speak again.
That's right.
And then she wakes up the next day and regrets it and immediately is like, I think I was raped.
I think I was raped. No, I mean, it's just, I think it's ridiculous. It's like, look at the context of the scene and the whole, I mean, and the story itself. She wants this to happen. It's obvious, and it's like,
the whole point of her
the whole
being
point would-
and able to get her voice back is
Yes.
that she falls in love with Eric and finds true
Yes.
love, and then she gets her voice back, and it's like, and she becomes
but
permanently human.
maybe in this remake, that's not the plot. I don't know.
I don't care
Maybe
what
that's-
it is. I mean,
I will
we
say
already,
I'm like I looked up the lyrics because I don't remember this movie at all.
Yeah.
Oh, you got
I'm
'em?
sure I saw it when I was like
Yeah.
5.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of creepy out of context for sure.
No, yeah, no. I've
But
heard
yeah,
the
to your
lyrics,
point,
That's the
like
point, though.
yeah,
It's in
yeah.
context.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I get it.
What's
I
it
just,
say? Let's
I
see
mean,
it.
God.
Yeah, read it.
Let's see.
Just read it.
sitting there, you see her sitting there across the way. She don't got a lot to say, but there's something about her, and you don't know why. But you're dying to try. You want to kiss the girl. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Look at her. You know you do. It's possible she wants you too.
Yeah.
There's one way to ask her. It don't take a word, not a single word. go
Go
Yes.
on and kiss the girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got the mood prepared. Yeah, it's definitely creepy. I get that there's a lot of context.
But it's only creepy within the context of the last decade.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to when this film was made, and you go back to just in general spontaneous moments between a
Well,
couple.
look at Snow
Yeah.
White. The only way to wake her up is to kiss her. You can't get her damn
He
permission.
couldn't-
She's
he couldn't
dead.
ask permission too. He's
Like
definitely a
she's
creeper.
sleeping.
But it's like
I
it
mean,
just
who goes around kissing dead corpses?
Yeah.
Got kissed live corpses.
No, that's probably acceptable now.
But I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's a whole nother Disney princess movie.
Necrophilia. I was born this
That's
way.
that's her name. That's her name. The
Necrophilia?
princess. Her name is Necrophilia.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. You got a nice ring to it.
I wouldn't put that past them.
No, look, the ridiculous notion that we can't have these uncommon subtleties, because it's going based off the idea of, again, the social contract of, yes, there is a point and a barrier at which you cross the line and you're forcing yourself on a woman. But the idea of the innocence nature, we've already seen who Eric is, and he's this prince who is honestly,
He's
admirable.
a gentleman.
He's a gentleman,
Yeah.
and so you get the notion that he's not a creeper, that he's not this.
Well, that's
this,
why they're trying to convince him to go ahead and kiss her.
right, because
it's
he's
like,
tepid and he's interested, but it's like, and
like,
she
damn it,
wants
just
him
kiss
to.
her, man.
Right, it's
Yeah.
literally what most girls will get pissed at about a guy nowadays
Not
who are a
taking the
goody
initiative.
two shoes.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, they'll sleep around, and the next thing you know, they wake up and regret it, and then they want to blame the guy for just a poor choice they've made. And that's going into a whole other conversation. But the thing
Should have
is,
kissed me while we were in the boat. Or I wouldn't have screwed another guy.
Yeah.
but it's
Wait.
wait, what?
You screwed up again?
Yeah, I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what she would say to him.
oh,
You should have kissed
okay.
me while we were in the boat, or otherwise I went and cheated on you.
Well,
It's
and
like-
he almost does with Ursula when she dresses up like, or she comes up
Well,
on
he hears
shore. as
her
a
Hey,
woman.
voice,
I-
and she sounds like
Ursula
Ariel. And
was
he's like,
hot.
that's her.
I'm
That's
just
her.
saying.
Yeah.
Ursula, when she was
But
a
that's the
woman,
thing.
she's hot.
The whole point is to showcase the difference between man and women and what they bring to the table. And here he is, a nice, honorable person, a nice
Prince.
guy, and yet he's being seduced by her and her beautiful looks, and she has
And a
no
crab.
way to communicate other than,
he was originally seduced by her voice.
Yeah.
well, yeah, because he heard it off in the shore, and now she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have it.
Yep.
And he's trying to find her, and she's trying to convince him, I am that girl, but to get my voice back, I need you to fall in
I
love
need you
with
to
me.
ask me to kiss me.
I look. We all know at the end of the day, these live action remakes have been not only milquetoast, they've been shot for shot, except for when they make these
Yeah.
stupid woke changes, and it's pointless to even go down that road. We don't
even,
need them.
I was like,
Well, I'm
even
sorry.
outside
Watch
of,
the original.
I said, even outside
mean
of
to take us
woke
down that
changes,
road.
though, the movies
Well,
they're boring. They're
Yeah,
bland. Like,
yeah.
they're just not good movies.
I'm just gonna go watch the animated one.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad
but,
you did bring it up because
the cartoon animated one.
our first
this whole movie is gonna be animated.
topic is about Disney Plus
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Hulu merging.
and ESPN Plus.
And
Technically,
ESPN Plus,
They're
yeah.
going to
What's
merge
that?
into one app.
They are. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you can still buy the apps individually.
I have them all three bundled.
Yeah.
Because I already had Hulu. We got Disney Plus. My dad wanted to be able to watch certain games that were only available on ESPN. So I was like, you know what? We'll just bundle all three of them because it'll be cheaper and share that way until they tell us we can't no more.
That's another headline.
Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful.
But it does say, you want me to read Bob Iger's?
Sure.
Because it was during
don't care.
a recent investor quarterly earnings call. He was discussing the merger, but he said, while we will continue to offer Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus as standalone options, this is a logical progression of our direct-to-consumer offerings that will provide greater opportunities for advertisers while giving bundle subscribers access to more robust and streamlined content, resulting in greater audience engagement and ultimately leading to a more unified streaming experience. So the idea is, because I pay for the bundle, so the idea is instead of having to go to each separate app, I would just go to one app and be able to view all of it, which is nicer. It really doesn't change a whole lot, I guess, then.
Well, and I was going to say,
Unless
I mean,
they change the price.
to me,
Yeah.
well, and it seems like they're doing it more for convenience sake.
Yeah.
That if you do have the, all three subscriptions,
Yeah.
you have one dedicated app, or maybe I guess if you go to one preferred app,
Yeah.
it somehow is, because that's my bigger question. Are they? You can buy them individually, so they're still going to have the three separate apps. Are they going to include like a menu item or a selection within each app for each service?
it doesn't-
so
all
that
it
when you
says-
have it unlocked, it's then
You can just go
easier
to
to
any-
browse in the way that you're used to using that Perspective app.
It says each app will still be available individually, but this new app will combine
Oh.
content from across
So it's a
the Disney
separate app,
brands.
yeah.
So it sounds like there's just going to be like you can get each app individually, however you want it, or if you have the bundle and pay for all three, there's just one app that's all of them. I don't
that's
know.
four
But I bet
apps.
they'll phase out
Basically.
the old apps eventually.
Probably.
They
You
just
think-
need to
yeah.
figure out the UI to actually get
True.
that
I'm sure it's
selection
just
in
going to
place.
be a
And
Disney tab, an ESPN
Yeah.
tab, a
Hulu,
Hulu
yeah.
tab at the top, and all of that.
yeah, but they aren't going to do that. They aren't just going to like launch one new app and get
Yeah.
rid of the others
I
immediately.
would imagine though, if you're going to end up combining like that, you wouldn't really need a Hulu tab because it's just movies and shows. You could just fold that into Disney Plus, and all the Hulu content's just because Disney owns both. Basically, they're the majority shareholder of Hulu.
Yes.
So if that's the case, I kind of feel like eventually they might be phasing the Hulu brand out. Now maybe not because it is a huge brand.
Well, and I think
don't
they
know.
still do want it for some of that more mature content. I mean, I know they put I know they just put the Netflix Marvel content. That's
Well, Deadpool's on
and
Disney
Deadpool
Plus.
is
They
on
have
Disney.
R-rated content on
But
Disney.
I do think that they there's certain things that they probably wouldn't want associated directly with.
They might put it under
that
the
brand.
Hulu label that way.
Yeah.
Because HBO Max has they have their HBO, but then they have like Cartoon Net. They have the different hubs, and I could see that having Hulu for your adult
Well, and
themed stuff.
and-
because they do that overseas instead of because some overseas countries don't have Hulu, so instead there's a Stars tab on not the Stars like premium service. It's just called Star. And that's their Hulu. It's on Disney Plus. You go to the Star tab, and it's all the Hulu, like R-rated content, because Hulu doesn't exist in other countries.
Well, and it's interesting because even bringing that up, I'm wondering, like with HBO Max and all the different, they still intermingle all of that content together. But you're saying, like, yes, they have it sparsed so that if you only want a specific type of content, you can.
You can go specifically to
Right.
HBO or Cartoon Network or Adult Swim.
And I think that kind of goes back to Neil's point of saying, like, they're probably going to end up phasing out over time this, 3 different apps into one singular app, and then
Yeah.
obviously each tier is unlocked based on what you subscribe to. But it probably is just a matter of like, yeah, we got to work out the UI, make sure, here's the thing: do you think it's going to ultimately bring a wider customer base? Because they're doing this primarily, I think, for 2 reasons. To obviously not bifurcate the services as much as they are, to make them seem like they're still under one umbrella or a more unified umbrella. And then ultimately, I think it is to cut down on the manpower for, we've got to have all these different apps that are functioning on all these different services and different providers. Now we can just have one app, one streamlined app that all of our engineers are working on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, along those lines, I wondered if this had something to do with the fact that they've lost so many millions of subscribers with Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if we combine all of them together under the banner of Disney Plus, then we can say, we've got 1 million people from ESPN, we've got 6 million people from Hulu. Now we've got,
But now we have
7 million more
this
viewers
many
on Disney
people
Plus.
streaming.
Yeah.
And they'll
I wonder if they're just going to
unify the
combine it
numbers.
to try to make it sound
Well,
better
they
than it
technically
really
already
is.
have those, but yeah, they would be able to combine the numbers. I think also because with all the layoffs they've had, I mean, because they're laying off from ESPN, they're laying off from Disney. It's like, okay, if you can combine them into one service, you need less people working on one app as opposed to people working on each individual app. So, you lay off so many for ESPN that subscribe to Disney. You get on their website and it's mostly going to highlight Disney Plus. They do have at the very bottom, you can also bundle this, but it's like an add-on thing. Whereas if you advertise it as one singular, this app gives you Disney, Hulu, and ESPN, a lot of
But
people
here-
are just going to click on that and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
But here's the
deal.
problem with that, though, is, and I'm sure they've probably already thought about this, but if you're telling me right now, I see those as 3 different, as a consumer. If I'm Joe Schmo and don't know anything about technology, I'm like, there's 3 different apps, there's 3 different services. If I go into an app and I've now suddenly hit with, Hulu's there, ESPN is there, but it's not included in this, like, what tier do I have to buy? I mean, I guess you could say it's along the lines of Netflix in terms of offering, certain tiers in their service, but most of that deals with quality and with how many devices you can stream on. Here, you're talking about the amount and type of content you can receive.
Well, I think that's why they
so
would
if I
phase
go
out
to
eventually.
right, but I'm saying, like, is it going to change the pricing structure overall? Because if I go to Disney Plus and I see a Hulu tab on there and it's like, you don't have access to this, I'm like, what do you mean? I've got the app, I pay for the service. It's like, but you don't pay for the Hulu service. And I mean, is
think
that
that's
going
why
to
there's a
tick people
separate
off?
app too, though, because that's why like it sounds like there's going to be an individual app for right now that's all three of them, or you can just get the app separate. So if you have Disney Plus by itself, you're never going to see
Right,
the
but if
Hulu
they do
stuff.
phase them out, and if they get rid of
at
the
that
individual
point, I don't think it would
apps.
matter, because then it would just, I don't think they would do the bundle anymore. They would just offer the one service with all three. It's not like.
So are you saying they would come in at a certain price, basically in the same way Netflix does, where it would be like there's different qualities of service in terms of like how many devices or how many is unlocked, but almost like a cable package where it's like you're going to pay this much for only Disney Plus or
could
Hulu.
do that. They could do Disney Plus, and then they could do Disney Plus Extra and Disney Plus Premium,
where it includes Hulu
where it
and
includes
ESPN
the
Plus.
1, 2, or 3 services. But I think you're going to get people. There's people that only subscribe to Hulu and they don't subscribe to Disney. They're not bundling it, and I think Disney wants those people to be under Disney. Like, I think they want those subscribers to be on Disney, because I mean, think about it. If you're subscribing to Hulu and you have access to the bundle, like eventually you'll be forced into it. If you have access to that, you're going to watch stuff. And I think that's what they want. They want to try to get, there's people that are only watching ESPN Plus, but we want them to watch Hulu and Disney. So if we can combine them together and those other two services are there, they're paying for it, well, hell, they're going to watch it. So then they get more views and subscribers on Disney and Hulu. I think if you force people to have all three, which is eventually what they'll do, because, I mean, otherwise you're paying $4.99 a month for ESPN Plus, but for $10 you get 3 services. Well, any sane person, would say, well, I'll just pay $10 and get 3 services. But they're not just going to watch ESPN Plus. They're going to watch the other 2 if they have access to them, if they're paying for them.
Well, what happens if you have a certain amount of users that don't necessarily see the value in ESPN Plus, and they're and it's like, oh, well, we may need to bump that up to a higher tier and say it's included, or a lower tier. That's where you start out, and then you have to pay.
Options, like,
that's kind of what I see them doing. I see them doing Disney, and then Disney Plus ESPN, and then Disney Plus ESPN Plus Hulu. Hulu's the one that I think a lot of people are going to want for their shows, and that's going to be in the premium tier or the most expensive tier. They know people are going to pay.
Meaning you can't buy.
You won't be able to
a
get
lower class
Disney,
just Hulu.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You have to bundle it with one of the
way-
that would be smart on their part to get people,
because people
to
do
buy
it.
the premium.
Even if they don't want ESPN, they're like, well, I want Hulu's, and I'm gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
Well, we assume based on whatever the numbers are. I don't know the internal numbers. They may have. I mean, like we said, we know Disney Plus lost a substantial amount of people and subscribers in the beginning of the year, and presumably they still are. But ultimately, it's like, what if they've seen more success with Hulu, or vice versa? Maybe Hulu's been dropping.
You force people to get Disney Plus and ESPN in order to get Hulu. Like I said, they're gonna probably watch stuff on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus, and even if they don't watch it, they're still subscribing to it, whether they want it or not.
We'll see. I mean, I think it's very much we'll call it a developing story. So like.
Yeah.
You bet they have the projections, they have what they think is going to happen, and they're going to be testing every step of the way. And if something doesn't work, they're not going to do it. And I mean, if something does work, it might not make sense, but like if they see that conversion is really good or they're making more money this way, yeah, they're going to do it.
Well, we know too that ultimately is why Bob Iger was brought back from Chapek, was they were already starting to see all of this money being bled through Disney Plus. And even though they saw rapid growth out of the gate for probably a year and a half,
COVID,
right? It's like all of a sudden now you're bleeding subscribers, and the content that Iger's come out and blanketly said a lot of the content that was produced specifically for streaming has not done well, or as well as they would hope.
They've actually talked about doing like HBO Max and taking off stuff that people don't stream, because they don't want to pay to keep it on their streaming service if nobody's actually watching it.
That kills me.
I hate that too.
You bought it. Like, what do you mean pay for what? It costs you nothing.
Apparently,
to have
they
people
have to pay
stream.
certain to the people who made the movies. They still have to pay
royalties,
those
I guess,
royalties and rights, and they don't want to have to. And if nobody's streaming that series on Disney Plus, it's like, okay, the subscription money's not going for this series because nobody's watching it. We don't want to have to keep paying these people to have it on our service when nobody's watching it, so we're going to take it off. And I don't like that either.
That's scary.
I feel like
that's just scary stuff for digital content in general.
Well, because Netflix is always, everything Netflix has ever made has always been on Netflix, and I love that. And now you have HBO and maybe possibly Disney, and they're like, well, if nobody's watching it, which from a business standpoint, I totally get. If nobody's watching it, it's not making you money. You don't want to have to pay anything for it. But at the same time, as a consumer, I like to know that
See, this is where the whole kind of wink, wink, nod, nod comes from. I think Disney and HBO. They know there's torrent sites. They know that people have bootlegged these things, and they're probably kind of like, we're taking it off our streaming service because nobody watched it. But if you really want to see it, wink, wink, it's out there. And I mean, that's just kind of the telltale sign of digital releases. But it just kills me that I'm like, you're going to go through the point of producing these. Look, there's tons of movies that were released on straight to home VHS back in the day. And yet they made their little splash of money that they got from releasing it, but they constantly pumped those out. Hell, I remember when Disney Channel was doing Disney Channel. I think they still do Disney Channel original movies.
Yeah,
it was
they just
once
make
a
them
month.
for Disney Plus now.
But it kills me because I'm like, so many of those I remember from my childhood, but yet, and they're available on the streaming service. But ultimately, if you're making content now, you're telling me that, it's going to cost you extra royalties, or you can't tell me you're not making some of the same deals that you made back then where you're going to own this IP outright and be able to have it streamed indefinitely without having to pay out royalties.
It's in the article, IndieWire posted it, but during the same call that they announced Hulu and Disney merging, CEO Bob Iger said, "We realized that we made a lot of content that is not necessarily driving sub growth, and we're getting much more surgical about what it is we make. So as we look to reduce content spend, we're looking to reduce it in a way that should not have..." Where'd it go? Hold on. That's not the quote related to that.
That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to pull
No,
stuff.
No. Because it does that Disney will start removing content from its streaming platforms. Going forward, we intend to produce lower volumes and content that align with strategic shift. Okay. Now I want to see specifically...
You're good.
The article's just taking a minute to load.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
so we believe we actually have an opportunity to lean into those more. He's talking about making things that have less marketing costs, but put the right marketing dollars on it. It's all about driving subscribers. I'm just trying to specifically see where they discuss.
I will say one of the things that kind of concerns me about that while you're finding the quote there is what if, and this is just a what if they come out and say, well, our original or our Disney classics aren't getting that much play. So we're going to, instead of paying for those to still be on there, we're going to remove that content.
Well, that's
and
what kills
focus
me.
on all the new stuff, which is the new stuff that goes along with the Disney agenda.
You can't tell me that their entire Herbie trilogy from back in the 50s and whatever is getting watched dozens of times.
Well, that could be something they remove, and then
my point is people would, but there's people who subscribe specifically to Disney Plus to watch those
classics,
things, and who cares if it's in the low thousands of views, however many per month or day or whatever. It's like, you can't tell me that isn't worth or valuable. And I think it does come down to kind of what Keith's brought up as far as paying royalties. Something tells me that content they own outright, and this newer content, the way they've made deals or structured it and brokered the contracts, now production companies are all the wiser about, we'll make it for this price, but such and such actor or such and such composer is going to get this cut every time it's streamed, and they receive a royalty check. And I'm wondering if the digital
part of it
rights
is also paying to keep it maintenance on each show, because they have to make.
See, I found that BS,
and I mean that's
because I'm like, how in the world maintenance for what? You have a server that is just providing content. It's on a
I agree.
That's BS.
Today's day and age,
once it's
storage
on there,
space, storage space almost doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
I think it's just
hosting a streaming platform is. I'm not saying it's not expensive. I'm saying if that's your end all be all, if that's your entire product.
Why. All she says is because McCarthy, the co-president, says, as a result, we will be removing certain content from our streaming platforms and currently expect to take an impairment charge of approximately $1.5 to $1.8 billion. The charge, which will not be recorded in our segment results, will primarily be recognized in the third quarter as we complete our review. This is just more jargon as far as their earnings, because that's what the meeting was about. Going forward, we intend to produce lower volumes of content in alignment with their strategic shift, which they've said in the past. We're going to make less for Disney Plus, but it'll be higher quality.
Okay,
Which
that has none. That still doesn't
explain why they're removing. They never explain why exactly. They're just saying due to cost.
Yeah.
But people not watching this content, we're just going to take it off. Right?
No,
I
that's
could
BS.
see it
That's
being
BS.
something like driving interest, right? So if they remove something for 2 years,
and put
then
it
2
back.
years later they can bring it back and be like,
They
"Oh,
did
we're
that with Avatar.
pulling it from the vault." Like,
Yes.
here we go, and that would drive maybe temporary subscriber growth. But then if those people
That's a good
forget
point.
to churn,
I have no
like,
doubt that them popping Avatar off for a while and then putting it back on just before the second movie released drove sales to the second movie.
They'll probably do the same for the third.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Yeah.
said intentionally they were taking it off of the streaming service because that's when they re-released it for theaters before the movie.
Well, yeah, they know people are.
Yeah.
Well, I need to rewatch the first one. It's been 12
we
years
know-
or
And
however many years.
They took it off and put it in theaters, so
right.
the only way you
I'll
could
pay
see it
for
was
that,
either
yeah.
go buy it
Yeah.
at a store or
Right.
go to the theater. And
But
see
we
it.
know they're not pulling Hocus Pocus 2, and they're going to re-release Hocus Pocus 2 around Halloween and be
No.
like, "Oh, people are going to want to see this." It's like, no, I'll just watch the original. It's like,
No, they'll pull the
They'll
original.
pull the original so you
Right.
can't.
Yeah, it's
and that's
only leave the second one on there.
I swear that would.
I have it on Blu-ray. It's okay.
Well, trust me, there's other ways of getting it.
Oh,
like
yeah.
talked
No,
about.
right, yeah.
But it just
Yeah.
kills me because I'm like, ultimately, at the end of the day, and this is where, and we're going to get into Netflix here in just a sec. In fact, let's just move on to that right now because this kind of, I'm glad you brought up the point that it's
They
like
lost $659 million in fiscal quarter 2. Disney did their direct-to-consumer business. And this is part because this is all the stuff involving the meeting, their earnings meeting that they had.
Yeah, they're hurting, and I mean we know Netflix
They lost
is too.
4 million subscribers in the quarter.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
a lot.
I
That's a
do
big
wonder
hit.
how that compares to other streaming services. Like, is this just a market shift, or is this Disney specific?
I think it does allude to
All of them have lost some, but Disney seems to be bleeding the most.
Well, I think it alludes to it's not brought forth the offerings that they were promised. I mean, you've had certain fan bases with regard to the Mandalorian and the Star Wars content or Book of Boba Fett, but
But then
that's the thing.
They burnt people out.
Right. I was
Yeah.
going to say, you've brought those fans in, and you still have those diehards that are hanging around, and most people who saw that or even the Marvel series for what they were, which is, oh, this is just filler, and even it doesn't pan out in terms of the way we thought
It's
it
just
would.
content to make content.
You have people who are falling off, and now it's like, okay, those people are bleeding the subscribers, and those are not your traditionalists who are just looking for the old classic catalog, or even for me personally, who buy it for the traditional stuff and for my family to watch.
Well, think like you said though, they promised all of these big shows. I mean, they promised Captain America and Winter Soldier. They promised Loki. They promised Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian. They delivered on those, but they all sucked. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan at all of hardly any of the Marvel shows or any of the stuff. Mandalorian season 3 is the most recent season. I hate it.
I've
It
heard that
is
from a
gone.
lot
It's
of
a
people.
far
I've watched it
cry
from a lot of
from the
people.
first season. And my son is 10 years old. He notices a difference. He doesn't like it or didn't like it. So it's just it's definitely not delivering on. Yeah, they put the shows out as promised, but the quality is not there. So I think if they're gonna, it's one thing to promise all of these shows and all these titles and to deliver them, but if you're delivering them half baked, then you're gonna have people fall off and quit watching. I think Mandalorian season 3 was the lowest watched season, and it's because people watched the first 2 episodes like, this is boring as hell. This is not the Mandalorian.
Well, and
So-
again, you're gonna have a steady drop off, but any show that is worth its weight and what you would almost expect people to be expecting from a streaming show that you're paying specifically for, it's like you're trying to entice people to come here for that experience.
Yeah.
Once you've dropped the ball there and you start losing interest, you've depleted the whole purpose of having that specifically on the streaming service.
Doesn't that go against when they make Marvel films? I mean, if we're talking
Well,
about
we've
the
seen
Marvel
it.
shows, you have some of the stuff in the films you will not get unless you've seen the shows. And if the shows are bad and nobody watches them, then
Well,
they're going to see a movie that they don't understand.
But then, and the alternative of that is people who have tuned in and watched it steadily, or devoted viewers, and then they are let down because there's no payoff.
Well, yeah,
you go to
nothing
the
comes of it,
theater
yeah.
and then everything is kind of milquetoast. It's
Yeah.
like, wait, I just invested how many hours in following the storyline, and it's just kind of so a character can show up in a movie and be like, I'm here now. And it's like, okay, again, it doesn't add value to my viewing ship experience, and it doesn't keep me invested in the characters or the story. So naturally, it's going to have gradual, drifting.
So it does seem part of it is a part like Neil was saying about also trying to drive people, because I found another quote where it's talking about curating content, but going off it says during Q2 we took a restructuring charge of approximately $150 million, primarily related to severance. So that's money they have to pay out. While we are continuing to refine our estimates, we currently expect to record additional separate charges of approximately $180 million. So that's on top of the $150 they're paying out over the remainder of this fiscal year. With the bulk of that additional charge expected in the third quarter, we are in the process of reviewing the content on our direct-to-consumer services to align with the strategic changes in our approach to content curation that you've heard Bob discuss. So basically, if it's not driving people to the streaming service, they don't see a point in having it on there. But I'm like, okay, but like you said, if it's really not costing you nothing,
it's just on there. So just leave it on there. So what if it's not driving them there? It's like, okay, that's why you worry about future projects. Just like with Netflix, it's like they've had to bite the bullet, and let's move on to Netflix, because they're cutting $300 million in terms of their spending for their productions,
which is a drop in the bucket compared to what they actually spend.
Well, compared to their normal operating budget, but at the same time, we've seen it through and through, and we've talked about it on the show countless times. How many Netflix shows have been produced, and after one season they're immediately canceled? So you drum up all this excitement. And it used to be...
You pay to make the show, you pay to market the show, yeah.
Yeah, and it used to be... I was clamoring for more content from Netflix because a lot of the originals they made were so good. And then it became so overwhelming to try to watch even an inkling of what they have and all the shows that they produce now or the content they buy up, that it's like, I don't even know... if I don't turn it on every single day where they're pushing something else new that they have either purchased or made, then I'm going to miss it entirely. Some of the Netflix originals that I still even keep up with are things that I watched and started 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And those are finally like sunsetting and coming to an end. So it's interesting that Netflix is cutting the spending, but like we said, $300 million, it's a lot to us, but to them who operate on billions of dollars to produce this original content, and that's their main driver, especially now that you have all these different streaming services from all these others that have back catalogs. Netflix doesn't have that. But I mean, is that something that here they are kind of embracing, hey, even if you didn't like it or it didn't have enough viewership that we kept you around or we had to cancel the show, we're still going to keep it available for everybody to watch and enjoy, and you'll always be able to come here and see everything we've ever produced.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not, a good model to
No, I mean,
uphold?
I agree. I like knowing that shows that because I like to revisit shows. Me and you both do. We talk about that, like rewatching certain things. And I like knowing that it's like, okay, as far as like first party content, the things Netflix owns, that'll always be on there. So if I want to revisit it, 10 years from now, I can. Whether, it's still popular in 10 years and driving subscribers, probably not, because once a show gets that owned, but except unless you're The Office, that one still gets massive views.
Rewatching it now. Hi, Megan.
It's a great show.
Yeah,
I mean, up till about season 6.
So it's one of those things. I do like knowing that if you own the content, I can't possibly fathom like it costs that much. But again, I don't know what they would be spending to keep the shows on there.
Yeah.
If they own them. But yeah, I like the fact that they're still on there.
Same. I mean, this is going to be the biggest issue moving forward, I think, for any digital platform. But I mean, also to speak in part about Netflix's spending cut, it's like we've known for a long time and we've complained about the excess of just all the vomited out, produced content that is just like, okay, what is this? Like, who in the world is this for? What is this marketed towards? What, why did you expect that series to succeed anyway? Like, it seems like they've always just thrown stuff at a target to see what sticks and, what hits closest to the bullseye. And they'll have hits every once in a while. They'll have something that catches on socially, like Squid Game. But then every once in a while, then that doesn't make up for all the other 40 or 50 things they have on there.
If you notice, the success of Squid Game has driven huge amounts of South Korean
they've been putting
stuff on there.
Yeah.
The popularity of RRR has brought dozens of freaking Bollywood movies on there now.
That's what happened
Like,
with
it's
anime.
insane.
It blew up, and now every streaming service has tons of anime all over it.
Right,
so.
but none of the other movies that are on there are RRR
No.
quality. Like, none of them are as popular or catchy as that. Most of the Korean stuff that's on there, none of it is as good as Squid Game.
Well,
And
you
it's
can
like-
tell they've tried to branch out and say, oh, okay, these are the markets we need to tap into and make Netflix bigger in these other countries, so that if we put the content they see most that identifies them, and look, I don't blame them. I think that's a smart move.
I think they know it's a
especially-
niche market. Like, they know that not every South Korean show is going to blow up nationally like Squid Game, but now they have a niche market of people that are going to be like, oh, I now love just like I love anime. I'm sure there's people that are just like, I'm going to watch every South Korean show made now.
Yeah.
And part of that could be defensive too, like, because if they know if they drop RRR and then they don't have anything that's in that genre at all, and then HBO is like, well, they had a lot of success with that, let me release a bunch of stuff. They might lose people there. So part of that could be defensive. I don't know.
I think it no doubt could be them trying to tap into markets that they know. I mean, because most of these other services we've talked about, again, and this is something that kills me in today's just culture in general on a bigger scale, is people who want to actually think that Americans don't export culture. It's like, yes, we do. It's through our music and our literature and our movies, and it's like, so do other countries. But obviously, when we're talking about it here on the table, we're mostly talking about what interests Americans.
Yeah.
And so with a streaming service in other countries, Disney is huge across the world, no
True.
doubt, for being this magical kingdom and magical place and this magical, childlike wonder.
Just magical.
It's just magical all around, dude. That friggin' little mouse, man.
It's magical, man.
But it's funny because it's
Magic
still
Mouse.
it's things that have transcended, and I would argue that are values that transcend just culture in general and go down to what human nature is all about. And that's what Walt Disney originally created with that special recipe. However, bringing that up and that being transcended upon other countries across the world, you then have those countries that have their own content that isn't making it here,
Yeah.
but also that don't have a streaming service in their own country that's promoting their own things. Now, I'm sure there's probably other streaming services that is just like Alibaba is the Amazon of China.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, I mean, there's I forget what it's called, but India does have their own.
I'm sure
like,
it's probably got
streaming service
Bollywood,
for-
Telugu.
yes.
It's probably got all the different.
But even streaming services we have, like Netflix, like in other countries, there's things on Netflix that we don't like.
region
like
locks,
in Japan, like there's all kinds of different anime that Netflix makes contracts for to show in Japan because they don't have a streaming service like that you can't get here in America.
And I think that's their way of also drumming up interest in maybe a market like the Americas that you don't see. It's like it's just opening up the doors and the floodgates to other things that maybe consumers don't know that they want. And I at least applaud Netflix in that regard of going down that road. Whereas when you look at Peacock, Paramount Plus, and I mean all of those services have a back catalog of American content. You really don't have much in terms of things that are produced by Paramount or by Universal or Warner Brothers in these other places. I mean, even in Warner Brothers, it's like going on there and seeing TCM content and seeing Kurosawa films and certain things that are tethered to it's more about the love of filmmaking, but even still an average viewer might stumble upon it and be like, oh wow, I just never knew this content was out there. And I think Netflix is really the only place you can find that niche stuff now, especially because they're grasping at like, okay, what do we do because we don't have a back catalog, so maybe we go that international route. But even still, it doesn't bode well that if they're cutting $300 million in spending, it's like, okay, is that in producing their own original stuff that people just aren't watching? Because I think that's fine. I think that's a good thing. We've known for quite a while there's too much stuff out there that you can't even consume it all.
But we should also point out that it's because they moved their plans to crack down on password sharing.
True.
So they might just need to focus more engineering efforts or marketing or, because any backlash from that, it's going to cost money.
Yeah.
So it could just be that's where a lot of that spending is also going.
I think too it's also, and that's one of their ways in which they're really trying to drum up revenue.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
the ad plan too.
Yeah,
That's
which
part
they
of the
just
article is
they
talking
just
about
released.
the ad supported plan.
Like $6.99 per month, I think, for ad supported tier SD only.
Yeah, $6.99.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're obviously cutting spending and finding other revenue streams that they can, rake in that is already based on what they provide to most average viewers. And I think another big one is that I think June 30th is when they're starting to plan on cracking down here in the States with the password streaming.
They delayed it, but I didn't see.
It says in the article June 30th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's interesting because they've already tried it overseas in like New Zealand. I think Germany was one.
They're in Canada too.
Canada.
Yeah.
So it's like they've already been hitting across the
Portugal
world.
and Spain.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it's very.
There are
It's
markets
funny, the
where I think
markets
they
that they're
can
testing that in
Right.
are a wide range. Like it's very.
And basically, it seems like what they're going to end up specifically focusing on is the primary account holder has to pick a specific address.
A
That's their
location,
primary
yeah.
address. And anywhere outside that IP range or
You have to pay
outside that
extra for it,
location, you can pay per
Yeah.
account you want to add as a viewer.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I
in
think
addition.
that alone, I think that's going to lose some subscribers. I think there's people that are not going to be willing to do that, especially if they're people who are paying like I am for the top tier, and they're already paying $22.99 a month or whatever for the 4K multiple streams. If I'm paying for multiple streams, it shouldn't matter where the hell they're coming from.
But I think they're hoping that they gain enough money from doing it that whatever they lose won't it'll even out enough that they still are saving money. Now I don't know because I know my parents will probably just pay it. They'll be like, "Well, this is stupid."
If it's
we want you to
$2 or
have it,
$3, then the people that I have that are sharing mine, I'll ask them to pay it, and they've already offered to pay it. I've not asked anything for it because they haven't started cracking down on it. But again, if you have the family with a college kid and you're paying for 5 streams and one of those streams happens to be from his dorm room,
Well, I was going to say,
what is the deal with
I hate
that?
to
Like
say it,
that's
but
what if you're on vacation and you're
exactly.
streaming? What
I was
if you go away for?
This
I mean,
is not
2
uncommon.
weeks,
What if
3
you're
weeks?
watching it at work on your lunch break?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, I think what they're going to do is
just
kind of
anywhere.
like
I go out to eat sometimes and might pop something up if
But
I'm by
that would
myself.
be temporary. I'm sure they would look and see. Well,
I think it's going
if
to be like
streaming
Global
every day
Metro,
from
not like
Well,
not
I-
like your address. I don't think it's going to be that.
I mean, if it's
specific.
Louisville Metro, then they would be no way
it's
telling.
like if I go to Florida on
because all of
vacation,
us
then
are here in Louisville Metro. I don't
Well,
know.
but I think it's going to be a device. I think just like I've had it at work with Office 365 subscriptions, you have 10 devices that you can
Yeah.
license that software out to, and then whenever you get full, it pops up and it's
I
like,
thought they
hey,
checked the IP
this
address,
device is you've reached your limit. You
Yeah.
have to clear it on another device. And I
Yeah.
think to override
Well, they already do that.
what.
You can't. You can only have so many devices.
Well, yeah, but based on the subscription plan of having 5 streaming devices.
5 streams at a time.
Right.
So you can have 50 different devices as long as only 5 of them are running Netflix at a time. You're within the
I don't
boundaries.
think. I was
Yeah.
gonna say I don't think it's device specific.
I don't.
I've got at least 20 different devices that
Logged
I've
in.
signed in on my Netflix.
I think that's the way
So-
they're going to restrict it. They're
we'll
going to
find
say,
out in a month and a half.
Yeah.
yeah, because and it makes sense because what can happen, and this is what Apple's done before with iTunes, where they allow you to license 5 computers, and you can deactivate a certain
Yeah.
computer to move your
Yeah.
library to
Well,
another
other
one.
streaming
But what
services
they'll
do that.
what they'll do though is they'll say if you deactivate this device cannot be reactivated within a year. It gives you a full calendar year.
Yeah, but I don't see the streaming services doing that. Because
I can see Netflix doing it if they're really
that's
cracking
crazy,
down.
because like Hulu and Funimation, they already do. Like if you can only use it, and it'll log out the oldest one, but you can always just log back in, and then it'll
and
boot
that's
someone else
what
out.
Netflix doesn't want.
Yeah.
Netflix, because that's the key. That's literally what my parents could do.
Yeah,
Chip
yeah.
and Wendy, and so
Well, that's
what-
why I thought it would go by like IP address, but I wasn't sure. We don't know. We don't know how.
well, the
they're
reason
gonna
why
do
I
it.
don't think they'll do it that way is because, and again, this is part of why they've tested in other countries.
Yeah.
To see what will work and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Before America just goes batshit crazy and gets mad.
'Cause they're going to, yeah.
Oh yeah. But the thing is I
People
think
will pay.
Yeah.
what it ultimately
will.
comes down to is I think people who are paying already, like Sean said, the 22,
Mm-hmm.
the highest in price, and it's like, okay, what if I do want to watch it at work? You better not restrict me because I'm
Yeah.
at a different IP address in a different location.
But
But
it plainly says in the article, if someone they don't live with uses their account, Netflix will alert them to buy an extra member.
Yeah.
It says in all of these other test markets, Netflix requires paying users to set a primary location for their account, which is going to be your home address. So if someone that doesn't live within your home address is using it, then it's going to ask you for another one.
yeah, I don't see that working. I mean, I know
I don't know
people.
how they enforce that. Like, When
because
you go to work, when you go to...
That's what I'm saying.
That's why I thought it would go by IP address, because that would be, you could tell those are in different locations.
Yeah, but that's the problem. If I want to watch it at work and I'm the primary account holder, but you're saying I can't now, I've got to buy another subscription.
They're figuring all this out.
Yeah,
right.
It's
Right.
not like...
But I think that's part of the muddied waters that Netflix is running into that they haven't figured out, and they're clearly, hopefully before June 30th, we get a better idea as to what's going on, because this just doesn't seem
Well, that's
worked
probably
out
why
at
they've
all
delayed it
by me.
already, because they know it's like, because they don't want to piss people off.
Yeah, that's why they're doing it in other markets to work out the kinks, and I don't think it's going to be like June 30th. They're just going to be like, hey, you need to pay more for this person.
And
they're
clearly,
going to communicate it.
I think they've also worked out in their mind of at least estimates, and who knows, this is where companies either someone gets fired because they totally missed the mark or they get a promotion. But it's like they've kind of weighed how many viewers, excuse me, or how many subscriptions they think they're going to lose as opposed to how many are going to pay the additional price.
Yes.
And they've weighed that option to think, well, most people that we've surveyed are probably going to pay $1 to $2 to add somebody, and that's going to give them...
I think they expect to lose some, but they're expecting to make more money than they actually lose, so they're okay with it. It's like that's just business.
Right.
It's like you can never please everybody, so you're just making sure you get the most that you can out of it.
But let's move on to our final headline of the night. This is kind of an interesting one. Something that's a little controversial that's going to lead into our multimedia segment a little bit later. But let's talk about good old Rotten Tomatoes being rotten to the core because they removed the user score ratings for Peter Pan.
Wendy.
Well, we're
Surprised
talking
they
about
haven't
the
removed-
Disney Plus
Yeah.
content. It seems like everybody would be in agreement that, yeah, go ahead and remove Peter Pan and Wendy because it sucks.
Nobody liked it. But apparently people are watching it. Who knows? I mean, they had 5,000 reviews, but apparently none of them
They're
were
grayed out now.
None of them were legitimate. So
Again, this is digital censorship. It's ridiculous because if you're going to be a review aggregate site, and look, there's a reason why you have distinct categories for critics and for users.
Yeah.
The fact that you're silencing the users because they're review bombing. Look, you have no proof other than surveying all of those 5,000 viewers that they're review bombing. I don't care if you think it's childish. I don't care if you think it's ridiculous. The fact is if you're going to be a platform that is taken seriously at all with any credibility and you want to maintain, I mean, I find it funny because they've recently just celebrated 25 years.
Yeah.
And they have it up, on their logo right now on the website. And I'm like, your relevancy is going to be based on the fact of whether or not you continue to be someone who supports user-created scores.
Well, that's the funny thing is because to play devil's advocate, they're saying that they're doing this to remain legitimate because all these people are going on and they've never seen the movie. They don't like the diversity.
They don't know that.
Like that. Well, I know, but they're saying that they can tell by they're looking at reviews that this person didn't actually watch it. They just hate it because Tinkerbell's black. So they're going to remain legitimate and not just have fake reviews from people who are disgruntled or racist. They're just going to hide them in general. But I don't think that's the right way to do it either.
No.
Even if you are of that mindset, because you're basically saying that if you don't agree with your reviews, then we're going to pull them off your website.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what they're doing. And they wait till a movie gets so... I mean, that to me is the problem, is where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Because clearly they would say, well, it's obvious, 5,000 reviews and it only had a 1%. I just recently sent
There's
you
no
all...
way everybody hated it that much.
Right. And I'm
Yeah.
like, which is...
Cleopatra has a 1%.
I was going to bring that up. How long until
next.
that one is pulled?
Yeah.
Because obviously they... And it's funny because critics also have panned it.
Yeah.
It's like 36%
They
from critics.
They might leave that one just because it's not liked by critics too. I don't know.
But that's the double standard. That's what kills me. You've already bifurcated and separated the categories
Peter Pan and
for
Wendy
that
doesn't have
purpose.
it's a 63. It's technically fresh, but that's not a high critic score.
No.
No, and how do you judge whether somebody's seen a movie or not when it's streaming at home?
Right.
It's like it's one thing if you wanted to change it to where you have to prove that you went and saw it, like with a ticket stub or a receipt or something before you can review it. That's one thing, but when it's streaming at home, how do you prove that they haven't seen it?
Listen, it says the choice was almost certainly more linked to the review bombing and an intense number of bad faith, inaccurate posts. See, they were bad faith and inaccurate.
Which is clearly...
Those are the direct
an
scores.
assumption.
Not
No.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
Who determines that?
Exactly. They're saying that, oh, well, because Rotten Tomatoes in this case is the corporation, they somehow have that leverage, that leveraged ability over pulling the reviews because in their rightful and mighty mindset, they have deemed these reviews to be just review bombing.
Yeah.
I look, it's only going to just drive further criticism of Rotten Tomatoes and how. I think what kills me, and we've talked about the disdain for Rotten Tomatoes for such a long time on this show, but every time you see a trailer that's promoting a fresh score, it says two things to me. It's like, okay, either one, that was bought, or two, this is exactly why Rotten Tomatoes exists. It's to pull in marketing and advertising for particular production studios to pay Rotten Tomatoes and say, hey, can we use your stamp of approval that is fresh? And I'm not saying they're paying under the table all these critics to go out and rate it, but the fact of the matter is like, it doesn't take a scientist to figure out if a critic comes out and they start seeing all these higher elitist in critics from the New York Times or IGN or all these other big heavy traffic sites that have a lot of influence. If they start rating it positively, others jump on the bandwagon. The producers pay them. It makes them happy. It makes these other corporations that get their little cut happy for paying to have people review them and be a stamp of approval reviewer. I mean, what kills me is, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's already a pretty, I don't want to say intense, but you've got to jump through certain hoops to even get your user score on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. They don't let just anybody create a user account and start rating reviews, and then all of a sudden you're just thrown. It's not like Metacritic or other places where that's becoming at least more, I think, more valuable to me, because it seems to be, you get the hate in there mixed with the critics, but again, like Rotten Tomatoes, I can usually gauge between the two. When you completely ixnay the one set of variable, I'm sorry, you've completely made yourself irrelevant. I can't trust your judgment anymore because I don't trust critics. We've seen the schlock that they've approved and have liked over the years and how they've become increasingly more apt to do that, and I'm just like, I can't trust the critics' review score. Yeah, I can't.
I think the only way to bifurcate the whole review bombing process would be not only to make it a little bit more stringent for people to get the ability to post a review, but almost to make it a subscription. To me, and if you want to review movies bad enough and give your audience score on a site like Rotten Tomatoes, then pay them $2.99 a month to be able to write reviews for them. Yeah, and then because to me, that is only that's going to mean that your reviewers or your audience scores are coming from people who are dead serious about watching these movies and giving a legitimate review.
They got skin in the game.
Right, exactly. And that way you can have your critic reviews, you have your people who are from, writers from different publications, movie critics from different newspapers and magazines and all this stuff that are, doing their thing, but then you have the audience of normal everyday people that are paying a little monthly fee to be able to post reviews to the site, and their reviews are aggregated into the audience score. Maybe not let just everybody post on there, even though, like you said, it is. I looked into it. It's not a simple thing to be able to post your thoughts on a movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I was looking at it right now. I just signed up for an account. Was trying to see.
But so that's the, to me, if you want to get rid of some of the, maybe I guarantee you there are people on there that are bigots, that are homophobes, that are this and that and the other, that'll get on there and post reviews or post their thoughts on a movie, and they only saw the trailer. They never went and saw the movie. There are some of those on there, but people who pay $3 a month, they're probably not going to do that. They're not going to pay $3 a month just to put hate speech on there. They're going to pay, and they're going to actually go see the movie and make it worthwhile when they write their review. And if those audience scores and those truthful reviewers are still 98%, while the critic score is 46%, then that still does the same thing that it's doing kind of now. It tells me that this is probably a movie I'm going to like. Right. Because the audience likes it, and the critics always suck.
And it kills me though too, because we had this problem first rear its ugly head back when Captain Marvel released, and the idea was that they allowed certain reviews to be posted before they couldn't have possibly seen it because it was before the release date of the movie. Never mind that some could have been posted from other countries in different time zones, but the fact is, I'm about to sneeze.
Oh,
sorry, I just went over to Neil over here and sneezed all over him. It's like first time
little
it's happened.
Edie.
Nice.
And it got Evie's attention. She's worried. But no, it's funny because back then that was the problem is they claimed that, they were now going to suspend user reviews up until after the movie released theatrically in the U.S. And I was like, okay,
That's fine.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Well, but that didn't
So,
the problem of review bombing
and you just put
supposedly.
in your score and it adds it to the. I mean, it's just.
Oh, it's not. So there is no formal
you just
process.
sign up and then it lets you leave a comment about it and like that because I just did it for Guardians 3 just to see if I could. So
You gave it 3 stars, didn't you?
I gave it. Well, it's out of 5, so I gave.
I gave that's already their problem.
So I gave it 3.5 since it was out of 5 stars. But
Do they have a quarter scale?
but it's
Curse
now you can
you.
become a verified.
Jacob.
Now you can become a verified audience member, and that you have to go through a process to do.
But the verified member score, isn't that the score that we're seeing when we see the audience
it
score?
doesn't say. It just.
I didn't think
says
we were
audience
just seeing
score.
everything. I thought we were seeing
It's
verified viewers.
it says 10,000 plus verified viewers. So I don't know if the audience score is only the verified.
Well, hold on.
audience.
Can you go to Guardians site right now, their Rotten Tomatoes page,
Yeah,
and see if it
it's on
says?
here.
Does it say 10,000 views?
It says 10,000 plus verified ratings. That's what I'm saying. I'm assuming that's only the audience score is only because that's 94% audience score, and then the critics is 82
And
out of
then-
340 reviews.
And the audience says out of 10,000.
it
Out
says
of
10,000
10,000
It says
verified.
10,000
Oh, it
plus.
does say it.
says
Yeah.
10,000 plus verified ratings.
So that means
So I'm assuming only the verified
the
audience
verified
score.
ones, and the verified one is the one that's more stringent to get.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you have to. You have to. You have
See, the
to get
one that's grayed
verification.
out on the page says just says user score underneath
Mm-hmm.
the little popcorn bucket.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering,
Yeah, it says audience score,
But it
and then it
says-
says 10,000 plus.
verified.
Yeah, verified
Where
ratings.
the one that is blacked out
Go
on
to Peter Pan and
it
Wednesday.
says
Oh, okay.
user
Yeah.
score.
Yeah,
It
it just says audience score.
Yeah, it doesn't say
They
anything.
always
a
just say,
screenshot
it always just
from
says
the
audience
article.
score, and then underneath it is what it says, like the.
This says
Verified?
audience score 5,000 plus ratings.
Yeah.
Okay.
From
Huh.
the screenshot that they have, it might show different on.
Yeah, it just says 5,000 plus ratings. So I don't know how they do
so
it.
so yeah, that's
That's
well,
not. That
But
would
it's
it's
also
back
still
on
on there,
It's
yeah.
back on there
Yeah,
now.
but
They
to
did
me
add it
that
back.
would
They added
indicate
it
that
back.
those
It's
are
Probably
verified
lower
members.
because of that article.
It's a 11% audience score, which is
See,
I think higher than it was when they
it
took
was
down.
like 1% or 2%, and that tells me what they did is they went in and they shuffled through reviews and they
It was
verified
at 13%.
terrible
so it's
movie.
lower than
Yeah.
it
Well,
was.
Not because of
Oh, was it
Tinkerbell.
13%
It was just a
when
terrible
they took
movie.
it down?
It says formerly the audience rating set at 13%.
Oh wow, okay.
So
The
it's got
Cleopatra's
even
at like
lower.
1.
It's
Cleopatra's
1%.
2%.
Oh, I thought it was 1, but yeah,
Oh,
it
I
could
don't know.
be 2.
It
Yeah.
might-
Just
But hold on,
like
so
my
they
milk.
put it back on there and it's at 11.
2%.
Yeah, it's at 11, so,
So
it's
it
lower
went
than it was when they
down.
took it down. Yeah.
Probably
They probably
because they
got
took it down.
backlash.
Yeah.
They found.
100%.
I mean, good for them then. If they reversed policy, and we're seeing the benefits of it now, that people were clamoring to say, "Hey, this is BS. Why are you taking
I
it
don't
down?"
think you can give it 0 stars. I had to give it a half.
I guess yeah. I mean,
I just went to do Peter Pan. I've not seen it. I'm not going to post it, but I went to do.
Well, you can take Sean's word for it. He can post under.
Yeah,
well,
it's-
but it's your account, so.
The kid that plays Peter Pan should quit.
I'm going to start putting my
We
reviews
need,
on
that's
here.
what I'm saying.
Start
We
putting
need,
my
we
reviews
need
on
to
here.
put Red Moon. We need to
Yeah.
create a Red Moon
No.
account official on Rotten
He
Tomatoes,
needs to
and
go
we'll
back
add
to
to it.
school.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I good for them on reversing it. I hope that trend stays because look, you're going to only drive further division from actual, moviegoers who are looking to the site to get their word out, to get their voice out, and that was the whole point of Rotten Tomatoes being a review aggregate site, and that's what's going to move us into our multimedia segment because I have a very important question to ask you all.
Oh, okay.
Multimedia.
Multimedia.
That's right. Got our multimedia segment tonight, and I'm bringing the question to you all with regards to review aggregates, trusting review aggregate sites. Do you trust review aggregate sites? I brought up Metacritic is
Yeah.
one. We've obviously got our long time used to be friendly favorite, Rotten Tomatoes. We would go to, has been around. Obviously, there's tons of different just individual review sites.
Cinema Score.
There is a cinema score. They do
CinemaScore.
a A, B, C, or D. I think D is the lowest.
okay.
Actually, no, I think C.
I looked it up, so.
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted, the audience score denoted by a popcorn bucket represents the percentage of users who have rated a movie or TV show positively. With films for which we can verify users have bought a ticket, the default audience score we show is made up of verified ratings, which represents the percentage of users who have rated a movie or TV show. TV show positively who we can verify bought a ticket, which I know you could do. You could show them the ticket. So then that score becomes a verified score if you can prove to them you have a ticket to the movie. It is displayed once enough of those verified ratings are in to form a score. So I think that's probably where they're getting it with Peter Pan and Wendy. They don't have hardly any ratings that are verified, which you can't because it's not in theaters.
Yeah.
How could you? So it's just the audience score, and now they're saying, well, we can't prove anybody watched this, and we think they're just review bombing.
That sounds like that sounds like a PP to me.
Now for
Personal problem.
Yeah.
So
you want me to just show you my Disney Plus
but it
subscription?
says for all other titles we display an all audience score, and that includes from everybody. So basically they always want the verified score as long as they can prove people actually went to that movie.
But they have to
you
hit a
show
threshold
ticket
for the number of reviews for that.
for it to aggregate. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to make a Red Moon account and put it on there. But I think this also demonstrates, too, what maybe Rotten Tomatoes needs to start lobbying all these streaming services for, certain kind of metadata that if you are a user and maybe you're a verified user on Rotten Tomatoes, maybe this is where the subscription model for Rotten Tomatoes can come into play. And it could be that you buy into the subscription service and you log into your account on all these streaming platforms,
verify,
and then it sends a token saying these are the shows that we can verify. They've watched so many minutes. They have after they pass a certain amount of time watched or lapsed. I mean, it's still not perfect. You could set it to play and walk away, but it's something better than right now where it's just good faith effort.
I do have a problem because they do say for all the titles we display an all audience score that includes ratings from people regardless of whether or not we can currently verify they have seen the movie or show. So they're saying, because Peter Pan and Wendy's like that, it's an all audience score. So you're saying you have it labeled, this is all audience, this is verified, so you're
denoting the difference.
So you're
there.
denoting that this score is from people that you can't guarantee actually saw the movie, yet you still pulled it down.
Right.
Which I think is kind of
it's crooked.
If you're already saying
because you're clearly doing it in favor of somebody, whether that's you saying, "Oh, there's review bombing," or Disney's like, "Hey, you mind maybe doing something over there about that?"
Well, even
that's
if
what
it was,
stinks to
even
me.
if it was 89%, those are all still audiences that you can't verify saw the movie when it's streaming.
And that clearly proves it right
but
there.
They do denote that there are differences. So
when was
there's
the
no
last
point to pull it down
time
if you already denoted this one's from people who we know saw it,
right?
And this one's from people we don't know whether they saw it or not.
You're already denoting that difference. So, but when was the last time they had a positive user score movie and it was suddenly stripped and taken down?
No, this is the first time they've ever done it.
Oh, with Peter Pan?
Yeah.
Oh, because Captain Marvel was a theatrical release.
That one was one where
people
they didn't fully take it down. They changed the way
they were saying because people were reviewing it and they allowed user score ratings before the movie actually released. Yeah. Which they still never clarified.
But they never took it down. Yeah. Until now.
Now I kind of want to know if those early ratings for Captain Marvel were verified users or not.
Oh, absolutely.
Verified
Because
users.
here's the thing: they never clarified whether or not those users were just people who didn't they could have seen an early release of it. They, like I said, they could have seen it from another country in a different time zone when it released beforehand. They just they simply went with the idea of people are hating on this because of the politics surrounding it.
I think the verified user thing is one of the things they implemented after
the fact.
So they were like, well, now we want to see, since this was a theatrical movie.
It was.
So, yeah.
Because that was when they started the whole take a picture of your ticket and prove that you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting.
It is interesting because, like you said, it's like if you've already shown the difference between verified and just a user score, then that to me tells me that you're still not trusting.
There needs to be a way to verify for movies that weren't released in the theater.
Yeah,
simple as that. If they can do that, then you can maintain the verified audience score and you could trust it, so to speak. But if you can't, verify,
it is, it's like, okay, they can't verify this, so maybe I can't trust it. But at least you know.
And even in the short term, and this kind of blends in with multimedia, you could even add like a toggle switch as a user for the website.
Yeah.
Go on there and just have a switch at the top of I want to toggle it on for only verified reviews that I see.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then certain content doesn't show up on your website if it doesn't have verified reviews. It's like give the user again.
Give them a
it always goes back to give the consumer and the user the preference they deserve. Like, think about it from their perspective. You can talk about all you want about, well, we want to protect the integrity of our system. Well, part of that is still giving them the voice that you promised to give them, but then just be more forthright and coming forward about saying, okay, we're going to be completely transparent about how we do this, and we're going to offer that transparency to the consumer and the people who use our website. But that goes to show you, it's like, when it comes down to it, I mean, like I said, because I've seen the evolution of Rotten Tomatoes, I know now when I can trust that differentiation between the critic score versus the user score and kind of make a general basis on what I'm going to think of the film. And I'll be honest with you, something like what we reviewed this past week, Paint and The Covenant, I didn't look them up right away, but when it got into the weekend and I was trying to decipher as to which one, and I was in the same boat, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to watch both. I looked up the scores, but I still went with Paint because it seemed like the most interesting. And yet, at the same time, because both were kind of in that subpar. I mean, we got allergies all around.
Allergies in Kentucky, boy.
But it's like, because both were kind of in the same general review, aggregate, I was like, okay, it really doesn't matter which one I choose, but both of these look like they're subpar films.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it because I know any true movie aficionado will be like, well, you just don't know until you actually watch the film.
To an extent, I agree, but I mean, there's plenty of times when you can tell a movie's generic. It's like, look, you see the trailer, you see how they're marketing, how they're trying to. I'm like, okay, that's going to be, if nothing else, just a generic movie. And I don't, as far as the multimedia question, I don't really. I take them all with a grain of salt, but I also use more than just Rotten Tomatoes. Like you mentioned, Metacritic. I look at. Yeah. I also like Cinema Score because those are the exit polls. Yeah. And I feel like that's a really good. Like, at least what's kind of most popular when everybody's leaving the theater saying, "Oh, we absolutely love this." You have a Cinema Score of A or A+. Okay, everybody who left that theater loved that movie. So in general, audiences are liking it. But it is because it is an aggregate. You have to keep that in mind. I think people look at Rotten Tomatoes and see, 92, this is an amazing movie. That's like a 4-star movie. It's like, well, 92 just means that percentage of all the reviews enjoyed the movie.
Right.
It doesn't, like, it could be a 3.
Mean that's a great movie.
Yeah, it could be a 3-star. It could be a 3-star movie that everybody gave 3 stars, but because they're all positive.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a good example of that. 98%, that sounds amazing, but the movie was not amazing.
No.
And I don't think even people who really, really enjoyed it would say that's exactly the movie that I wanted to see for the final Guardians of the Galaxy. That's actually a perfect example because most of the reviews I've seen from critics are about 3 stars, which is fine. Yeah. But when people hear 98, you're thinking higher than just 3 stars.
Overwhelmingly positive. Right. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's just that 92% of the people who rated it gave it 3 stars.
Right.
Yeah, I think when it comes to aggregate, well, really anything on the internet, it's like you're not just going to use one source.
Yeah, it's like the news.
You should be checking multiple
just read
sources.
One news source.
Yeah.
You should check multiples because the story's going to be different.
And with movies, it's also like, if you know the director, you know the writer, you know the actors that are in it, whatever.
Personal taste, yeah.
Right. Like, so I think trusting a score from one site, it's never a good idea for anything.
Yeah.
So just like use your gut and check multiple sources.
It's the Red Moon Podcast.
That's right.
Right.
You can trust
that. You can absolutely trust our score. It's verified 3 ways.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
100%.
4 ways sometimes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. No. Ours just works.
Just works. It's like what Apple used to be.
That's right.
But no, I agree. I mean, honestly, though, I think about it as 2 things. It's like Amazon, who doesn't get on there and shop? And the first thing that pops up are, I'm looking for the one that has not only like almost everything, I hate to say, has like 4.5 stars.
Yeah.
But then you look at like, oh, this was rated by 2,000, which I'm like, that's pretty good. Yeah. Oh, this has 30,000. We'll go with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I downloaded an add-on called Fake Spot for Amazon.
Oh yeah.
That tells you like it basically analyzes all the reviews to see like how many of these were fake.
Oh,
or
sweet.
like they use AI to see.
Is that free?
Yeah,
that's what Rotten Tomatoes use.
But it's also confusing.
Is it a Chrome plugin or like a browser
yeah,
plugin?
probably.
Okay,
that's what Rotten Tomatoes uses to see which reviews are fake on Peter Pan and Wendy. Okay,
great.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
but yeah. No, I mean sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's like, how are you giving this a D? Yeah. But it has like a 4.8 star rating out of 50,000 reviews. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like someone just like spammed this item.
I was saying that's a lot of spam if it has like 50,000.
Yeah, maybe not 50,000,
but no, I know what you mean.
But something like that. It's like you've got sponsored listings, and it's like, well, they paid to be there.
Right?
Are they actually a good product? So you're like looking for the word sponsored. You're looking for all these different things, And yeah, it's complicated. So I'm not surprised that all these services.
Reviews.
No, sponsored products.
But I'm the Amazon scenario,
Gotcha.
right?
Like
but even
usually
like
the second one
if
down,
they-
it says
yeah,
sponsored.
If they send you a lot of
Amazon
them
will have,
review stuff that they're
Amazon
sent for
Choice.
free. It's like if you
Yeah.
send me, $1,000 camera for free for me to try, I'm probably going to give it a positive review because I want to keep it. Because usually after you review it, you get to keep it.
Well, I mean,
So-
and we've talked about it on the show before, but I've had things where I've been delivered the wrong thing or a faulty product.
Yeah.
And they
And
just
I
let you
wrote
keep it.
I wrote a bad review, and they immediately reached out to me, and they were like, "Hey, we're sending you a new one right away.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got that wrong. Do you mind updating your score?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Yeah, if the
once
next
you've
one works.
corrected the error, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah. But no, you can get on and read Amazon reviews, and if you read the name of the poster, sometimes it'll be like John 4013,
Yeah.
and then the 3 reviews down will be John 4013B.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, those are fake.
Yeah.
Like it's like they just added a
Well,
letter
there's-
to their name so that they could post a different review.
There's also the obvious ones that are hilarious that you see pop up in memes where they'll like review something.
Oh, yeah.
That'll like it'll be like some type of like exercise tool, but it looks like the shake weight where it's
Yeah.
like and then they make a perverse review that's always hilarious. I
Yeah.
love I love finding those on Amazon because I've stumbled upon a few and I'm like, these are great.
Well, and I mean, when it comes back to movies, when we go around to that, or just I think entertainment in general, when it's video games, especially like I said, Metacritic, or I'll go to IGN or GameSpot, these different review sites, it's like I'm also gauging how I'm going to spend my time because there's so much out there.
Yeah.
And usually, I hate to say it, but yeah, a good rule of engagement with regard to any of that is word of mouth. And it's like sometimes when it's a movie or a game, especially something that is as big as like Legend of Zelda, I'm
Yeah,
gonna work
yeah,
it in somehow.
They drop it there.
I was gonna
Tears of the
work it in.
Kingdom.
Tears
Only
of the
on
Kingdom
Nintendo Switch.
just dropped this past week. Play it, but it's like
We're not sponsored.
and if you're gonna get one, get the Switch OLED.
it hits right.
Like I mean,
They look that case from Walmart.
Switch. I
Yeah.
don't know what. No, never mind. That's inside joke.
Yeah.
But anyways, I know that I'm gonna have to trust a little bit of my gut, but also the hope that these people have not played through the whole game. Okay, but we know this series has had a long, lengthy legacy. This franchise is consistent over time. But also, do I really want to dive into something this large and large scale right now? And also, is this how I'm going to spend my time as opposed to doing other things? Either one that I responsibly have to do, or two, other than watching movies that I maybe haven't caught up on or books that I haven't read. I mean, that to me is the name of the game right now. Is just there's so much content in the digital age.
And there's always more coming.
Yeah,
It never ends.
And yet, it's funny to me how much. Again, it goes back to just the old Bible verse. There's nothing new under the sun, and it's funny that you have all of this past content from, especially when it comes to books, that I'm like are just timeless classics that continually people are just. I mean, how many books are probably authored and created every day and put up on like Amazon, and yet
nobody gives a crap about
right,
them.
nobody will. Yeah, exactly.
like season 4 of The Witcher.
Yeah.
There you go.
That doesn't exist and it never will.
That's it. Verified.
Just
It's
like
season 2 of. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to
I
say
was gonna
season
say-
9 of Scrubs.
I was going
because
to say
that doesn't
season
exist either.
season 2 of
Dark Crystal. That,
Dark
That's
Crystal.
it.
That
That-
literally
that
doesn't
actually-
exist.
that actually doesn't exist,
No.
though. Yeah.
You never know. Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few things that I just choose not to believe ever were created.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. We've had a good episode.
Yeah.
Had a good beer.
I give this episode
haven't used that in a
3.5
while.
out of 4 stars.
3.5. I got to show the beer can.
Yeah.
I put it up on the thing.
It's
I
right
know.
there.
I know, but I don't have like.
I
a
know
that
close-up
camera's
shot.
not even
you
pointing
can't-
towards it.
Well, you got the wide
It's
shot.
just
I thought
pointing
you
at
might see a
Neil.
little bit of it in the wide shot.
shot.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful, Neil.
Yeah.
Love it.
Hefeweizen.
It's Alrighty, guys. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all
Yeah.
so much for tuning in. Like we didn't say what our review for next week is. We said our
Fast.
review for like 2 weeks.
Gotta go fast.
Fast X, baby.
Gotta go fast.
Fast X,
Which is directed by the guy who did the Dark Crystal. So
the beginning of
One.
the end.
Maybe
1 star.
part 2 won't happen.
maybe.
Well, we know The Rock's coming back. We didn't even break that news.
Yeah.
It's like he's out of
I
money,
heard.
man.
Yeah.
He's got to
Well,
get
it'd be a
something on his-
spoiler. I could spoil it if y'all want.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
Please.
It was
Alright,
in
go
the
ahead.
article that
Go
he
ahead,
shared.
yeah,
so
go
if you
ahead.
Yeah.
they said that he's in the after credit scene
Just of
That's
this
it?
one?
of this one.
Oh,
So he'll
he's
be
not
in
so he'll be in the
movie?
next
Okay.
one.
final
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
he'll be in the next
So
one.
he'll be in the send-off.
Yeah.
Gotta
Which
have
I'm
Hobbs
okay
and
with.
Shaw
I'm like,
in
look,
the
you
final
can't.
movie.
It's like you can't end it without The Rock. I'm glad he finally put his ego in check and said, okay,
It only took him several
Black
bombs
Adam
at
failed. He's like, Black Adam failed. I'll come back and make money here.
Exactly.
I think in the next movie, he's literally going to like grab a space shuttle
Yeah.
by a chain and pull it back down.
What
to
if he
Earth.
just is Black Adam in the next
That would
movie?
be
You're like,
great.
whoa!
Oh my
It's like
god!
they're bringing DC
That's
into the Fast and Furious
right.
universe. Holy crap! They're freaking
the
got
only way to bring
Ludacris,
Black Adam back.
Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson floating around up in space.
What just happened?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Oh my god!
He's
I got
Trying
restless.
to eat his snot rag
I got
over
restless.
there. I don't know what's going
I thought he
on.
bit his lip or something.
I got restless.
I thought it was a powdered donut.
I
I don't know.
Where did he get
I was like, man,
donuts?
he pulled that out of
I
nowhere.
just got pocket donuts.
It's like that guy on the ringer. It's like, when the F did we get powdered donuts?
It's like, I just got pocket donuts.
It's like, man, I was gonna ask for one.
Here,
That sounds really good.
that'd be awful. You keep powdered donuts in your pockets. You know,
Dude.
all the powder in there.
It's like Napoleon
They're
Dynamite.
y'all mashed.
Like
you
a
just be
beer.
like, here.
Smushed powdered donuts.
It's like, you smashed my tots. You smashed my donuts.
The Napoleon Dynamite scene.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
You got your Hefeweizen beer and some powdered donuts. It's like,
Everybody
yeah,
watching this is just like, we have no idea what
No.
just
Yep.
happened.
they're covered in coke.
It's devolving into chaos.
Oh, my God.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it. We're done. We're done. Fast X next week. Look forward to it.
I am.
Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
Vanilla Steam, and
Mustard love.
of course our special guest this week.
Neil. Hi, Megan.
You didn't give everybody the email.
Bye, Megan. Say bye, Megan.
Good night, Megan.
We didn't tell them our email.
Oh, that's okay.
It's on there.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.